What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast. You already know what time it is, man. It's time for another mock draft. And I know I'm putting one of these out every single week, and it's been kind of similar. A lot of them have been really the same because it's hard to make differences. I got some differences in this one I'm excited for you guys to hear and for you guys to give me your thoughts on. So as always, make sure you guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button as these mock drafts are going to start coming out or continue to come out every single week. And we're leading up to Mock Draft 1.0. There's only 2 more weeks left in the NFL season. Week 17's already officially started. Merry Christmas, by the way, if you celebrate. Happy holidays, everybody. If Week 17's already it's already going. We've already had 2 games today, and there's only 1 more full week of football left until playoffs start. So we're gonna have at least these first 18 picks solidified within the next week or so. So we're getting real close to Mock Draft 1.0. I say all that to say Mock Draft 1.0 is on the way. Once we have the first set of picks solidified and where teams are going to start selecting. So without further ado, let's jump right on into the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. We're going to select all teams. And like always, guys, there's no trades. So there was some big movement this week, right? With the Raiders somehow pulling out a win. Well done, Jaguars and Mac Jones. You guys were just worse than them. Well done. But for the Giants, it's still pretty easy for me. I still have Shedeur Sanders as QB1 in this class. And I think it's pretty decently, too. I think he's just a better QB option than Cam Ward is. I think he's an extremely good processor. Very good once the ball snapped, identifying what the defense has shifted into. Good mechanics, good footwork, very accurate passer, and a very athletic guy as well. I think he can be really solid. I've heard people say that the Eagles should try to lose to the Giants on purpose in Week 18 so that way they cannot get him at pick number 1. Now, he's not like this generational guy that we've seen in the past. He's no Andrew Luck, right? Just to use a guy that was amazing straight away. So I don't think he's that good to where it's like, I don't want my division rival to get him, but I think he's going to be really solid in the league. They will have to build up, obviously, the offensive line and everything else, too. But I think Shedeur Sanders is a really solid pick. Now for pick number 2, it's always been Cam Ward going to the Raiders, who are picking at pick 6. So do they try and trade up here? Probably, but since they don't, I'm with New England here, and I've been giving them Travis Hunter. I'm going to make a change this time. I'm going to go with arguably wide receiver 1 in the class, Tetairoa McMillan. I know I've mentioned I'm a little more down on him than others. It doesn't mean he's not a good player. He's the second-rated player on PFF's big board, 6'5", 212. He's going to test great at the combine, and he put up the numbers to back it up, right? Back-to-back seasons with over 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns a year ago, 8 touchdowns this year. The guy's a monster. He's a mismatched nightmare, and him and Drake May together could be really fun. Drake May's going to be – we're going to see it. Screw it, McMillan's down there somewhere, right? Just throw it up, let him go up and get it. He'll be the tallest guy in the field at the skill positions at any given point. So I'm going to go Tetairoa McMillan at pick number 2, opening up the Jaguars here to go ahead and take Travis Hunter out of Colorado. They have him listed as a corner here. You could play him as, I think they should play him as a corner. I think he could be a very good, the best corner in the class if he just kind of picked and stuck to that position. But he can do a little bit of both, so why not have a little fun package for him on offense as well, because he is just that talented. I mean, the guy's obviously an absolute freak. Titans at pick number 4 here. Guys, what if Will Levis isn't the guy? What if you're sitting here and you're like, there's a Cam Ward's available. Cam Ward's pretty dang good. 92.2 PFF grade, 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, 7 picks. He brings excitement. Will Levis brings memes. Will Levis brings sadness and memes. And Cam Ward brings excitement and maybe a chance. And maybe Callahan wants him. And I'm going to say in this instance, Callahan wants him. Let's get crazy. Why not? Cam Ward to Tennessee here, giving them something. I know they need a receiver, but maybe they don't want Luther Burden at pick number 4. Maybe they don't want Emeka Egbuka. They can't get Travis Hunter. They can't get Tetairoa McMillan. I don't want to give them a tackle because I think the best tackles in this class are guard transitions. They're going to probably be guards in the NFL. Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks Jr. are both probably going to be guards. I don't think there's obviously no Joe Alt in this class. So I'm going to go Cam Ward at pick number 4 there to the Tennessee Titans. Cleveland on the clock here. They've got all offensive positions here, and I've been giving them a lot of tackles. Again, I'm not doing a tackle at pick 5 to Cleveland. Let's go upside. Abdul Carter, defensive end out of Penn State here at pick number 5, elite grade via PFF. 12 sacks this year, 35 hurries. The guy's a menace. He's going to test, I can't say that. He's going to test absolutely off the charts at the combine. Freakish athlete, just another stud Penn State pass rusher, following in the footsteps of Rookie of the Year, Chop Robinson? What? I don't know. That's what people are saying, not me. People are saying that, though. Next up on the clock, Vegas. Obviously devastated not to get a QB here. So what do you do if you're Vegas? I don't know, man. Just settle for a tank and then look at next year's class. Next year's draft class, just at a quick glance, has better quarterback prospects, in my opinion. Guys, I really like Drew Aller. I obviously love Arch Manning. I'm a huge Nico Iamaleava fan. Huge fan of his. And then you've also got the LSU quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier. They've got some good QB prospects coming out next year. And they could also take one in the second round. What's saying they can't take a Quinn Ewers in round 2? Or even a Carson Beck if they feel strongly about him. You cannot get a pass rusher like that to pair up with... Myles Garrett wants out. Myles Garrett would rather not rebuild. So you might need to replace him. Abdul Carter's a pretty good guy to replace him with. So we are now onto the Las Vegas Raiders, missing out on the QB here, like I said. I've got them going with cornerback Will Johnson, just a player who's one of the best in the entire draft. They've got him as the 6th best player in the class. I agree with that. 6'2", great size for the position. One of definitely, I think, the best cornerback in the class. I just think you are betting on Travis Hunter's upside if you take him over him. So I'm going to go Will Johnson, pick 6. Pretty nice consolation prize there for Las Vegas. Carolina needs a little bit of everything here. Again, I'm going to just go best player available. And I'm going to go Mason Graham, defensive lineman out of Michigan. There's no edge I'm taking here. Carolina, the board just doesn't fall great for them. No QB, no receiver, edge. I think I'm just going to go Mason Graham and say he's just going to line up all over the place and be a menace for us. Jets, I've got them going with an edge rusher here, and I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to find him. I'm surprised that PFF's so low on someone like Mykel Williams, a classic Georgia pass rusher that's going to be a freak athlete, and I think the Jets are going to draft based on traits. They need to get more pressure on the quarterback. They've struggled with that. I know they've had some injuries, but I think Mykel Williams would be really solid pickup here. I don't see them going with a tight end. There's no corners available. There's no QB available. And D lineman, I mean, you're going with an edge rusher here, so I like that pick for them. Chicago on the clock here at pick 9. For one of the first times, I've got Will Campbell falling to them here. And I like that fit because they need a guard and probably a tackle. Well, good news. He can play both. So I'm all for that. Pick 10, New Orleans Saints on the clock here. This one will shock some people, I would imagine. Saints fans, just sleep on it, right? Just think about it. Don't knock it until you try it. Siobhan Ravel here. They've got him a lot lower than I have him. His measurables are very similar to someone like Sauce Gardner. Very similar to a Quinyon Mitchell from last year. Obviously, he's a little bigger than Quinyon Mitchell. It's 6'3", 193. He needs to put on a little more functional weight, but from a technique standpoint, from a talent standpoint, Siobhan Ravel has an argument for being the best corner in this class. I think him and Will Johnson are neck and neck. I think it's a lot closer than people think, and we forget about how good Siobhan Ravel is because he's been hurt all year. This guy's a monster. No, it's not listed as a need. I don't care. New Orleans needs to rebuild. They need to reset. You have a chance to get a stud corner. I think you take a shot on him and just hope that he's as good as I think he can be. San Francisco on the clock here. I'm giving them the guy I've been giving them because I think we've forgotten about Josh Simmons a little bit. I think Josh Simmons is good enough to be the first tackle off the board. I think he is a true tackle. Comes with fantastic size, excellent technique from Ohio State. Really good player. Really, really good player. I mean, didn't allow a single sack or hit this season in the 6 games he played. And last year he allowed 4 total quarterback hits in 13 games. That's crazy. He is just an absolute stud in pass pro and not too bad in the run game either. So I like Josh Simmons to them there. And for the first time, who I want Miami to get here is Kelvin Banks Jr. We need a guard. We saw this past week when Liam Eichenberg's on our starting lineup, we can move the ball really, really well. Unfortunately, Liam Eichenberg is still a player that gets too many reps on my football team. He's got to go. Kelvin Banks gives you someone to stabilize the guard position, potential future at tackle. If you need him out there, you can always swing him out there. He can play 4 of the 5 offensive line positions. I really like Kelvin Banks Jr. in this class. I think he would be a great fit in Miami if he were to fall. Indianapolis on the clock, and a position of need falls right to him, and probably a top 5 player in the draft class in Malachi Starks. He's the Brian Branch of this draft class, a player that's going to be undervalued, that's going to be a menace in the NFL. And you cannot have enough of those if you're the Indianapolis Colts. Offensively, they'll figure it out. Yeah, they need a tight end, but they could use other pieces here and there. I think Malachi Starks is just a plug-and-play day-one starter, and I think he's an absolute stud. Shockingly, Ashton Genty's position running back is not listed for the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe that's because we think Chase Brown is going to be good. Yeah, well, Tyler Algier looked pretty good for a year too, right? And then Bijan Robinson was available. Well, Ashton Genty's available here, and that's going to be the pick for Cincinnati. Just become more explosive offensively. I don't even need to talk about his stats. 2,500 yards, 29 touchdowns if you're wondering. And he still has games to play. Guy's an absolute freak. He's a freak. So Ashton Genty, thank you very much. Cincinnati's offense will be unbelievably electric to watch. Dallas on the clock here, a pick I've become pretty accustomed to making for them, especially with the injury to DeMarvion Overshown. You guys got to get a linebacker in Dallas. He fills that need. He's going to be really good. Rangy linebacker out of Georgia, can make all the plays, good size for the position. Just an all-around good player, man. This is someone you want on your team. And the Cowboys, it's a position of need. It just fits really nicely here. Arizona on the clock at pick number 16. I've got this guy moving up the board, and you cannot stop me. I will continue to pound the drum for James Pierce Jr. and move him up the board as much as I can. If Miami didn't take Chop Robinson last year, I would be praying for him at pick 12 right now because I think this is the best edge rusher in the entire class. I said it. I don't know what it's causing him to fall on draft boards because the sack numbers are down. I don't care. James Pierce Jr. is one of, if not the very best edge rusher in this class. He's got great technique, good size for the position. This guy's a stud, man. He's going to be a stud, and you need guys like this on Arizona's defense. Pick 17, Seattle. Pick 17. Okay, see, it's backwards where I was earlier today. I guess it depends on when you look at it. Tankathon has these teams switched. It is what it is. So pick 17 for Seattle. I've got them going with Ariante Ursery, offensive lineman out of Minnesota. Really good tackle prospect. Can absolutely kick one of their tackles that they have into guard and start him on the outside. Hell, you can even start him on the inside if you want to. I'm not. I'm putting Ariante Ursery out at tackle. A mammoth of a man. Moves very well for his size, though. Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. Can't say enough about Ariante Ursery. Pick 18, Tampa Bay. On the clock here, needs tight end, edge, and corner. Nick Scorton sitting there just looking at him. I know that's probably the pick they're begging me to take. I'm not going to do it, guys. I'm sorry. They need a corner. They really need a corner to keep up with the best offenses in the league. And I think you take the best corner in the nation, according to the voters, and that's Jahdae Barron. He was number one corner in the league this past year. 90.7 grade PFF. 5 interceptions, no touchdowns allowed. You'd love it if he was 6 feet tall. You would. I don't care. Very, very good player. Very sound technique. Again, I keep saying that, but it just is what it is. I like guys that are more polished coming out than the raw prospects. And Jahdae Barron has it. He's a stud. Absolute stud. Atlanta on the clock here at pick number 19, and they're saying thank you very much, Tampa Bay. We will happily select Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Can play him all over the defensive line. He's got size to play inside, outside. He brings speed. They need an edge rusher, and he's the best edge rusher on the board. If they decide to hang on to Matthew Judon, if he walks after this year, either way, you need an edge rusher in Atlanta. They needed it last year. They need it this year. Chargers on the clock at pick 20, and for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and give Jim Harbaugh something to look forward to and give him Colston Loveland. Give him his tight end here. Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren, 1A and 1B for me. I think Tyler Warren does a little bit more, but I think Colston Loveland has a higher upside, and he's a couple years younger, and it's Jim Harbaugh's boy. Like, he recruited him to Michigan. Now he can bring him to L.A. to grow with his QB and in that offense. I like that for fun. That's a fun pick for me. Number 21, Houston on the clock here. I'm going to give them my favorite offensive lineman in the class. That's Wyatt Milam out of West Virginia. He's got guard flexibility. You just pop him right next to Laramie Tunsil, and you just move behind the left side of the offensive line. That's all you got to do. Just run behind them with Joe Mixon, who they hopefully bring back for a year. Hand it off and go, because that left side will be an absolute force behind Tunsil and Milam. And I expect them to address the other guard position in free agency, because as much as, hey, Kendrick Green repping the 309, love to see that, should not be a starting guard. Should not be a starting guard in the NFL currently. Sorry. Broncos on the clock at pick 22. This guy somehow falls right into their lap position of need. Luther Burden out of Mizzou. Broncos fans, you're welcome. Another weapon for Bo Nix, and now the offense is looking a little scary. Even scarier than it has looked this year. 9-6 currently is how it sits. You throw Luther Burden into that mix, man. You got Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, and Luther Burden. That is nasty. Rams on the clock at pick number 23. I got them going corner Benjamin Morrison. They just need more talent on the backside of that defense, as we all can see here. Maybe they go someone like Cameron Williams. I've got him sliding just a little bit in this draft, but I could see them going with him. I just like Benjamin Morrison's upside a little bit at the position, good size for it. Something that the Rams just desperately need. Pick 24, Washington. I've got them going with a defensive lineman. This is more of a best player available kind of pick, in my opinion. Although they've got him rated lower than I have him. I like Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. Big fella. Just someone to plug right into the middle of that defensive line. I mean, 6 sacks and 7 sacks last year from the defensive tackle position. An elite, almost elite grade. Has not missed much time at all, especially these last 2 years. He's played every single game. He's all over the place. He does everything for them. This is someone you want on that defense. This is someone I could really see Dan Quinn wanting on his defense. Pittsburgh on the clock here, and they need a receiver, and it's Emeka Egbuka. We all saw how bad the Steelers have played since George Pickens went down, and we're talking about George Pickens, who is like a good number 2. He's not a number 1. He's not a number 1, Steelers fans. I'm sorry. Emeka Egbuka can be a number 1, or at very worst, he can complement him, and they can both be, 2s together. And that's just a better wide receiver room. You cannot have your second receiver being Calvin Austin. You can't have that. I got to go with a good weapon here, and Emeka Egbuka coming out of, in my opinion, wide receiver university in Ohio State. I love that pick for Pittsburgh at pick 25. Pick 26, we've got the Baltimore Ravens on the clock. I'm giving them edge rusher Shamar Stewart. Kyle Van Noy's been really surprisingly good for the Ravens this year, but he's just getting older. They've got some young guys at the position, but I think Shamar Stewart just has more upside than most of them, and he's got positional flexibility at 6'6", 290. You can play him all over the place. He's like a Justin Madubuike, and you can have a second one of them, or Nnamdi Madubuike, excuse me. Thank you very much. Green Bay on the clock here. I've got a guy that's flying up draft boards right now. Well, is he? Where'd he go? Am I missing him? No, he's not this low. That's insane. He's not that low. Hang on. Let me find him. Where are you, Mr. Harmon? They got to adjust this because there's no way he should be this low. Derek Harmon is not going this late. If he's going this late, I will eat my hat. I will cook and eat the hat on my head if he's the 82nd player drafted. Derek Harmon is a monster. An absolute monster interior defensive lineman for Oregon. Probably one of the best overall players on that team. Great size. Put him right next to Kenny Clark, and you've got an absolute stalwart defensive line. I cannot believe I've got to figure out why they've got him rated so lowly. That's insane, 82. Philadelphia Eagles on the clock here, and I've got them. I don't think they've been linked to this guy, and it says edge and linebacker are needs here, but I think you go Tyler Warren. Why not go with the tight end here? Yeah, you've been solid, I suppose, with Dallas Goedert and whoever else, but Tyler Warren brings another level to that offense. And the Eagles have defensive players to spare, okay? And they also just nail the draft in the second and third rounds anyway. So you just take a defensive player in the second round, he's going to be a stud. You're not going to get a Tyler Warren that late in the draft. You're just not. This guy does it all for Penn State. I think he's 23, maybe going to be 24. But either way, man, I think he would be a monster with them. 92 catches from the tight end position this year, almost 1,100 yards. He will eclipse 1,100 yards when it's all said and done. And he just falls into their lap. That's a top 15 player in the draft that you get at pick 28. That's something the Eagles do. They don't draft on glaring need. Oh, we need this position. No. They just draft best player and figure it out, and it worked for them. So I love Tyler Warren at pick 28 for them. Buffalo on the clock here. They desperately need an edge rusher. With Von Miller getting older, maybe desperately strong, but I like Landon Jackson, man. He's someone who I've kind of got my eyes on here. He's just steady, just super steady. Doesn't miss a game. He'll get you several sacks, more hurries this year, which you like to see a lot. He's got great size at 6'7", 280. He could just fill up that Von Miller role, be a situational pass rusher, and if Greg Rousseau and or A.J. Epinesa walk in free agency in the coming years, then you've got someone already built in, ready to go. I think Landon Jackson is someone who's going to really fly upwards once the testing starts going on. Minnesota on the clock, and I'm going to stay with giving them a running back. Now the question becomes which one. You've got really three I would think about here. Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, and Quinshon Judkins. Now I am going to go with Omarion Hampton. That's not to say I think he's necessarily better than Caleb Johnson or really Quinshon Judkins. I just like what I've seen out of Omarion Hampton, man. I feel like he's more of the all-around do-it-back. I don't know. It feels like a Viking to me. And you really can't go wrong with any of the three. I'm going to go with Omarion Hampton in this instance, but you really cannot go wrong with any of them. Detroit on the clock here. They need guard, center, and edge. And I'm going to continue to put JT Tuimoloau out in the first round. Sorry about it. Deal with it, people. He's a first-round talent. He should have been a first-rounder last year. Opted to come back to school. What did he do with that? 11 sacks. 15 hurries, 12 quarterback hits, a batted pass at the line, didn't miss a single game, fantastic PFF grade. He was a stud this year, and we've got him going mid to late second round? He was a first-round pick last year before he decided to go back to college. Go back and watch all those mocks and what everyone was saying about him. He was a first-round talent. What has he shown you this year to drop him? I have no idea. And then pick 32, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock here. A running back would be really fun for them. Neither of the tight ends are on the board, so that's off. They need a tackle. I think Cameron Williams is a great pick for them here. Now, his numbers are not going to jump off the page. I mean, a 69.2 on here is not great. But again, most NFL teams don't draft based on what you did in college. They base on how they can project. And Cameron Williams projects as a really solid tackle. And that's what the Chiefs need. They need an offensive lineman. You've got Joe Thuney playing left tackle, and God bless him. He's doing the Lord's work out there, man. He is playing fantastic left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's not what he's there for. He's an all-pro guard. You're just having to use him somewhere else because the left tackle position is a disaster. Go get the tackle. Even if it takes him a year to figure it out, that's okay. Go get a tackle, please. That's good. So I'm going to go Cameron Williams to wrap up round 1 of the mock draft. So you guys got to let me know what you think about these picks. Again, I took some swings on these ones. Again, we're just having fun with this, trying to feel out fits, see who we like, where, move people up and down the board, going to different teams. What makes sense? I'm looking at all these teams' depth charts, and so much is going to change between now and the draft. We've got the rest of the season to play out. We still have 2 full weeks. And then we've got playoffs, and we've got free agency. There's so much to happen. And once free agency, what if a team that needs a tackle goes out and signs 2 of them? And you don't need a tackle anymore, and that changes how the board falls. If the Bears don't need an interior offensive lineman, changes how the board falls. There's a lot of things that are going to happen over these next several months. So if you saw your team pick and you're like, yes, I love it, let me know. If you saw your team pick and you're like, oh my God, this guy's an idiot, let me know. But if I come back with a rebuttal, don't run away. Don't run away from me. That happens in the comments. People are like, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, and then I break out statistics like I tend to do. And I'm like, no, this was why this was a good pick. Then you vanish. Where are you going? Don't run away from me. Let's talk. I will never be mean in the comments. I just want to have a conversation. That's all. Let's just chat. So that's all I've got for you guys on this week's edition of Mock Draft. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and stay tuned for next week's edition. We'll see you guys in that one.